Turn him on emotionally, not just physically. What if I told you that the secret to truly capturing a man's heart has nothing to do with how you look, but everything to do with how you make him feel? In a world obsessed with appearance and surface-level attraction, there's something far more powerful you can offer. A connection that reaches deep into his emotions, his thoughts, his soul. This isn't about playing games or being someone you're not. This is about unlocking the kind of bond that goes beyond chemistry and into something lasting, meaningful, and rare. If you've ever wondered how to truly stand out, not just in his eyes, but in his heart, then stay with me until the end of this video. What you're about to hear could shift the way you love forever and make him feel something he's never felt before. Emotional safety is the invisible force that pulls two people closer together in ways that physical touch never could. When a woman creates emotional safety for a man, she invites him to step out of the role society expects him to play and into the truth of who he really is. Men are not always taught how to express emotion, how to be vulnerable, or how to sit with their fears without being judged. They're taught to be strong, to fix things, to remain composed, and while that strength may be necessary in many areas of life, it can also become a barrier in relationships. What most people don't see is that behind every man who seems tough, aloof, or emotionally distant is often a boy who never got the permission to be soft, afraid, or uncertain. That boy still exists within him, quietly longing for a space where he can be understood without needing to explain everything. Emotional safety isn't about solving his problems or taking away his pain. It's about allowing him to sit in his humanity and know that he won't be judged for it. When you make a man feel emotionally safe, he doesn't just relax around you, he rests in you. And that rest is rare when he can share his failures without you questioning his worth, when he can speak his dreams without you laughing at their size, when he can tell you about his fears and know you won't use them against him later. That's emotional safety. And once a man experiences it, it becomes addictive, not in a manipulative way. He will not always tell you with words, but you'll see it in how he stays closer. You'll see it in the way he begins to share more, even if it's clumsy, in how he starts to drop hints about things he usually keeps hidden. That's because he starts trusting you with the parts of himself he usually guards. And trust is the seed of emotional attraction. It's the space where desire stops being about your body and starts being about your presence, your energy, your ability to make him feel like more of himself, not less. This isn't about stroking his ego. It's about seeing his soul. And when you see it clearly, without judgment, without trying to reshape him, he feels emotionally safe. Creating that space requires patience, not performance. It means you listen, not just to respond, but to understand. You read between the lines of what he's saying and recognize what he's afraid to say out loud. You don't mock his silence, you lean into it. You don't treat emotional distance as rejection, you see it as protection, and you gently help him lower the shield he's carried for too long. He doesn't need someone to fix him. He needs someone who believes there's nothing wrong with him when he's unguarded. That kind of emotional validation turns something on inside of him that no physical act ever will. It's in that safety that he can finally feel seen, not for what he gives, not for what he achieves, but for who he is at his most raw and honest. When he feels emotionally safe, attraction becomes deeper, realer, and more lasting. He starts looking at you not just as someone who excites him physically, but someone who awakens him emotionally. That connection builds a foundation that's harder to shake. It turns love from a fleeting moment into a meaningful bond. And it makes you unforgettable, not because of how you made him feel on the surface, but because of how you made him feel when no one else had the courage or patience to go. Emotional safety creates emotional desire because it touches a place inside a man that is rarely reached. Many men are conditioned to appear strong, unaffected, always in control. They wear confidence like armor, often without even knowing they're doing it. But beneath that exterior is a deep longing for someone who sees through the surface and allows them to be human. That means messy, inconsistent, unsure, or even broken at times. When a woman becomes the person who gives him that space, she becomes more than attractive, she becomes necessary. She becomes the place where his soul rests, not just his body. And that's the kind of connection that builds not only desire, but devotion. A man may be physically drawn to you because of your beauty or energy, but when he feels emotionally safe with you, he's drawn to your presence at a much deeper level. He begins to crave the feeling of being around you because it's not just exciting, it's healing. Emotional safety means he can admit he's had a rough day and not be told to man up. It means he can say he's scared of failure and not feel weak for it. It means he can talk about his past, his mistakes, and not fear that you'll think less of him. This kind of safety is rare, and when you offer it to a man, he starts seeing you as someone he doesn't have to impress, but someone he wants to be honest with. That changes everything. It's easy to think men don't care about emotions or that they only want surface-level attention. But emotional intimacy is what makes him stay when the newness wears off. It's what makes him fight for you, confide in you, and choose you over and over. A man may not always know how to ask for it, but once he experiences emotional safety, he knows he's found something priceless. And it's not something he'll easily let go of. He will feel like he can finally breathe, be seen, and still be respected. That's powerful. That's when emotional desire is born, not out of performance, but out of permission. This kind of safety doesn't come from always agreeing with him or never challenging him. It comes from responding to his emotions with empathy rather than judgment. It means knowing how to hold space for him, even when his emotions are hard to understand. You don't need to be his therapist or his savior. You just need to be emotionally present. That presence, that warmth, that consistency, those are the things that make him feel safe enough to show up as his full self. And the more he shows up, the more he bonds. It's a quiet, steady kind of connection. It builds slowly but holds firmly. And in today's world, that's more attractive than any physical feature. When you create emotional safety, you're not just offering comfort, you're creating a doorway to real intimacy. It's where trust begins and attraction grows. It's where the real version of him feels welcome, not just the polished version he shows the world. That emotional doorway leads to conversations that go beyond small talk, to silence that feels peaceful instead of awkward, to closeness that feels natural instead of forced. And when a man finds that kind of connection, he sees you as more than someone to be with. He sees you as someone to build with, someone worth protecting, someone he can finally be real with. That kind of bond doesn't fade. It deepens over time, becoming the very foundation of lasting love. Mystery is often misunderstood in relationships, especially when it comes to building emotional attraction. Many people confuse mystery with playing hard to get or withholding affection, thinking it creates tension and keeps the other person interested. But real emotional mystery doesn't come from manipulation or silence. It comes from depth. It's not about being confusing, it's about being compelling. When a woman has emotional depth, when she knows herself and continues to grow, evolve, and pursue things outside of the relationship, she becomes endlessly interesting. She's not a puzzle to solve, she's a story to explore. And that story makes a man want to keep turning the pages, not because he can't figure her out, but because he knows there's always more to discover. Depth is magnetic. A woman who brings her passions, values, and authenticity into every interaction creates a space where emotional curiosity thrives. She's not putting on a show or trying to be someone she's not. She's simply living with purpose and presence. That presence speaks volumes. It tells a man that she doesn't need him to define her worth, that she's already walking in her own power. And that confidence creates an emotional tension, not a negative kind, but one that feels alive. He wants to understand her layers, what drives her, what lights her up, what makes her cry. That curiosity isn't born out of confusion, it's born. Real mystery is maintained through emotional independence. A woman who has her own opinions, routines, goals, and passions invites a man into her life rather than making him her life. That distinction changes the entire energy of the relationship. He's not the source of her joy, he's a partner in it. That gives him space to admire her without feeling pressured to complete her. And admiration is deeply tied to emotional attraction. When a man admires a woman's strength, sensitivity, vision, and depth, he becomes more emotionally invested because he feels like he's growing alongside her, not just sitting beside her. When a woman keeps evolving emotionally and mentally, it keeps the connection alive. The relationship doesn't become stagnant because there's always something new to share, something new to experience together. He doesn't lose interest because he's emotionally engaged with someone who brings freshness and inspiration. That doesn't mean you need to constantly reinvent yourself or put pressure on your life to be exciting. It means that you live with intention and invite him into that journey with you. That sense of progression and expansion creates a shared emotional adventure. He sees you as someone who's not just present, but alive. And aliveness is deeply attractive. Depth also shows up in the way you connect. You ask questions that go beyond the surface. You listen with genuine curiosity. You don't dominate conversations with drama, but you're not afraid of vulnerability either. You know how to sit with silence and let it speak. That emotional balance makes a man feel like he's connecting with someone real, someone who sees both the world and herself with clarity. And that experience is rare. In a world full of noise and surface-level connections, emotional depth stands out. It pulls a man in because he senses that there's something different about you. Something that makes him feel more like himself when he's around you. Mystery isn't about being unavailable. It's about being fully yourself while leaving space for him to lean in and explore. That kind of emotional space is where true connection begins. It doesn't manipulate, it inspires. It doesn't confuse, it captivates. And once he feels it, he'll keep coming back to it, not out of neediness, but out of a deep emotional desire to know you, grow with you, and be a part of a connection that feels truly alive. Confidence mixed with warmth is one of the most powerful combinations a woman can embody when building emotional attraction with a man. It creates a kind of magnetism that pulls him in, not because of how loud or dominant she is, but because of how grounded and emotionally generous she appears. Confidence on its own can sometimes come off as intimidating or detached, and warmth without confidence can feel like neediness or insecurity. But when the two exist together in harmony, they send a very clear and compelling message. You are secure in yourself, but also open to meaningful connection. Confidence is not just about how you walk, dress, or speak. It's about how you carry yourself internally. It's the silent message you send that says, I know who I am, and I don't need external approval to feel valuable. This kind of self-assurance allows a woman to show up authentically, to express her needs clearly, and to hold her boundaries without fear of being rejected. And that strength becomes emotionally attractive to a man because it shows him that she values herself. She won't settle for less than what she deserves, and she isn't looking for someone to fill her up. She's already full. This inner completeness doesn't repel him, it draws him closer. He feels inspired by her certainty, not threatened by it. But confidence alone is not what turns him on emotionally. It's the warmth that follows that confidence, which softens the edges and invites intimacy. Warmth shows up in how a woman listens, how she responds with empathy, how she makes others feel seen and appreciated. It's in the way she smiles, how she encourages others, how she holds space for emotions instead of running from them. That kind of warmth is healing. It tells a man that he's not just being evaluated or tested, he's being accepted, welcomed, and appreciated. It creates emotional safety while still maintaining respect. When a man feels that kind of emotional presence from a woman who is also confident in her own right, he begins to form a deep bond. It's not just chemistry anymore. It becomes connection. This blend of strength and softness shows him that she can challenge him to grow while also supporting him when he's low. She's not afraid to speak truth, but she does so with compassion. She doesn't rely on external drama to feel alive because she's already rooted in a solid emotional foundation. That creates emotional peace, not just emotional excitement. And in today's fast-pacing, often chaotic world, peace is deeply attractive, is not boring, it's rare, and men instinctively gravitate toward it when they recognize it. When a woman shows up with this balance, she makes space for a man to open up emotionally because he senses that she won't weaponize his vulnerability. He doesn't feel like he's being sized up or pressured to impress. Instead, he feels like he's being invited into something real, something emotionally mature, something safe. That's what makes emotional desire grow stronger. It's not about being flashy or trying to stand out. It's about being so at peace with who you are that your presence naturally draws others in. And when that confidence and warmth shine through in your interactions, you don't just attract a man's attention, you earn his trust, his admiration, and his emotional investment. He starts to realize that what he feels around you isn't common. It's not something that can be easily replaced. Because you're not just offering excitement or affection, you're offering emotional depth, emotional strength, and emotional kindness all at once. And that kind of combination stays in his heart long after the moment passes. Shared experiences and meaningful conversations are the bridge to emotional intimacy. And emotional intimacy is what makes a man feel connected far beyond the physical level. Many relationships start with attraction and chemistry, but if there's no depth behind the connection, it begins to fade the moment the excitement wears off. A man may be drawn to your beauty or energy in the beginning, but it's the moments you experience together and the conversations that reveal who you truly are that begin to root him emotionally. Emotional attraction is built when he starts associating your presence with a sense of purpose, belonging, and shared meaning. That doesn't come from surface level interactions or just texting all day. It comes from being present in real life moments and emotionally rich exchanges. A shared experience could be something as simple as cooking a meal together, going on a spontaneous walk, or tackling a challenge side by side. These small experiences become the emotional glue of the relationship. When you do life with someone, even in the little things, you start to see how they move through the world and how your energy blends with theirs. These moments give a man space to see you in your natural flow. How you laugh when things go wrong, how you encourage when things feel stuck, how you lead or support depending on what's needed. He begins to associate these experiences with emotional safety and familiarity. That emotional familiarity makes him feel not only more connected to you, but more drawn to the idea of building something long-term with you. But experiences alone are not enough. They need to be paired with conversations that matter. When you talk about your values, your dreams, your fears, and the things that have shaped you, you invite him into your inner world. This is where emotional connection becomes deep. It's no longer just about fun or excitement. It becomes about who you are at the core. And when he sees your core, when he learns what you care about, what drives you, what scares you, and what you hope for, he begins to feel emotionally invested. Because now it's not just about liking you, it's about understanding you. And understanding builds intimacy. A man may not always ask for meaningful conversations, but when they happen, he leans in. He remembers the way you described your childhood or the way your eyes lit up when you talked about your future. He remembers how you made him feel when he shared something vulnerable and you didn't flinch or try to fix him. You just listened. These are the invisible moments that turn emotional interest into emotional bonding. They let him know that he's not just seen for what he provides or how he looks, but for who he truly is. That kind of recognition is rare, and once a man feels it, he will keep coming back to that space. Emotional intimacy cannot be rushed or faked. It's built slowly, layer by layer. through real connection and intentional presence. It's in the way you show up and the way you invite him to show up too. That mutual openness is what deepens the emotional desire. You go from being someone he's interested in to someone he can imagine life without. Because now you share not just attraction, but moments, memories, and meaning. And when you create that kind of space, you don't just turn him on, you turn his heart toward you in a way that's real, deep, and lasting. Appreciation and admiration are emotional nutrients that fuel deep connection in a relationship. When a man feels genuinely seen and valued for who he is, not just what he does, he begins to open his heart in ways that go beyond physical attraction. Most men are wired to seek purpose, to feel like they are contributing, making an impact, or protecting and providing in some way. But what often gets overlooked is how deeply they crave to be appreciated, not just thanked for their actions, but truly acknowledged for their efforts, their heart, their character. When a woman knows how to speak to that place in him, not with flattery, but with sincere admiration, she ignites a level of emotional closeness that touches his soul. It's not about feeding his ego or constantly praising him to get his attention. It's about recognizing the small things he thinks no one notices. It's when you tell him you admire how he keeps going even when he's tired, how you respect his discipline, or how you feel safe because of how steady he is. These comments, though simple, are powerful because they go beneath the surface. They tell him that you see more than what he shows the world. You see the intention behind his actions, the values that drive him, and the effort that often goes unspoken. That kind of validation builds emotional desire because it makes him feel understood and respected. And respect, for most men, is one of the deepest forms of love they can receive. When a man feels that you truly appreciate who he is, he begins to associate your presence with affirmation, not just feel-good words, but a sense that he is enough as he is. This emotional safety makes him want to be better, not because he has to prove himself, but because he feels supported and inspired in your presence. A woman who knows how to draw out a man's strength through appreciation will always stand out in his heart. She becomes the one he confides in, the one he wants to protect, the one he thinks about when he's planning his future. Because she doesn't just offer emotional comfort, she reflects back the best parts of him and makes him feel worthy. Real admiration isn't performative. It's not just about complimenting his looks or achievements. It's about seeing his emotional growth, how he handles stress, the way he treats others, or the courage he shows even when no one's watching. These moments of admiration make a man feel emotionally connected because he realizes that you're paying attention not just to what he gives you, but to who he is when he's not trying to impress. And that level of awareness turns casual connection into deep emotional intimacy. Yeah, gratitude also plays a vital role in this. When you show that you don't take his time, his thoughtfulness, or his presence for granted, it sends a message that you value him, not as an accessory to your life, but as a meaningful part of it. This sense of appreciation keeps the emotional bond alive. It encourages him to keep investing, to keep showing up, and to keep building with you, because he knows that what he gives is not wasted. It's noticed, felt, and cherished. Hard that makes him feel safe, proud, and emotionally seen. And when a man feels seen in this way, he becomes emotionally loyal. His desire deepens, not out of obligation, but out of genuine connection and emotional fulfillment. Through appreciation and admiration, you awaken the deeper parts of a man's heart. You go beyond physical appeal and step into the emotional space where real desire lives. This space isn't just where attraction happens, it's where devotion is born. When you turn a man on emotionally, you don't just capture his attention, you capture his heart. It's not about playing games or performing roles. It's about showing up as the woman who makes him feel safe to be real, who carries her own depth with grace, who speaks to his soul through shared moments and genuine connection. When you blend emotional safety, mystery, confident warmth, meaningful experiences, and sincere appreciation, you create a bond that doesn't fade with time. It deepens. That kind of attraction isn't momentary, it's lasting. It's not just exciting, it's rare. And in a world filled with shallow interactions, your emotional depth becomes the very thing that makes you unforgettable. Because the truth is, any woman can attract a man physically, but it takes a rare kind of woman to reach the part of him he doesn't show to anyone else. Be that woman. Thank you for joining me today. If this message stirs something in your heart, hold on to it, live it, and let it change the way you love. Because you deserve not just attention, but connection, not just romance, but real emotional devotion.